Hey everyone! Today we're going to talk about a topic that might seem a bit scary at first, but it's actually more common and deeper than it seems. Obsessive spirits. Many people have experienced that feeling of being influenced by a negative energy at some point in their lives, or maybe they've even wondered if those feelings could be caused by spirits. But what exactly are obsessive spirits, and why do they affect us? In this video, we're going to dive deep into this subject, exploring what Spiritist doctrine teaches us about how to handle these energies, and more importantly, how to use these situations as tools for spiritual growth. Protection and healing aren't just about prayers or rituals. They're also about understanding and evolving as individuals. So, make sure to subscribe to the channel and hit the notification bell to get updates on future videos. Drop a comment below and let us know what you've heard about this topic, or if you've ever had a spiritual experience like this. Let's go on this journey of learning and growth together. Let's start with the basics, shall we? After all, who are these obsessive spirits we've heard so much about? According to Spiritist doctrine, these spirits are disincarnate beings who are still trapped in negative vibrations. They might be carrying deep resentments, emotional wounds, or even be stuck in material illusions from the life they left behind. In many cases, they don't even realize they've passed on, or they remain too attached to unresolved issues from their earthly existence. Now, obsession isn't always as dramatic as what we see in movies, like possession. Often, it's much subtler, almost imperceptible, but it can still mess with our emotional and energetic balance. For example, an obsessive spirit may attach itself to a living person due to unresolved issues from past lives, lingering resentment, or even complicated emotional ties. Sometimes these are issues we aren't even aware we're carrying, but they're there influencing us in ways we may not realize. Ever stop to think about that? It's also important not to see these spirits as enemies. In many cases, they are suffering beings, and because they're trapped in their pain, they end up trying to influence others. This can happen in various ways, from small, intrusive thoughts that seem to come out of nowhere, to heavier emotions like anger, sadness, or fear. Have you ever noticed that before? Like a random, negative thought that pops up and suddenly makes you feel bad? One crucial thing to understand is that this influence only happens when there's a certain energetic connection between the obsessive spirit and the person. It's like an energetic link. If we're vibrating at a lower, denser energy, it's easier for this kind of influence to occur. But if we stay balanced, peaceful, and with higher thoughts, that connection is much harder to make. Here's a practical example. Imagine you're going through a tough time, filled with stress and worry, that might act as an invitation for an obsessive spirit to come closer. On the other hand, if you're taking care of your energy, practicing prayer, meditation, or even doing things that bring you joy and balance, that connection loses its strength. So, the advice is simple. Take care of your vibration. Keep a positive mindset, seek self-awareness, and stay connected to what brings you peace. It makes all the difference. Have you ever had an experience like this? Do you feel like your energy shifts when you take better care of yourself? Now that we understand who obsessive spirits are, let's dive a bit deeper. Did you know there are different levels of spiritual obsession? That's right. Spiritist doctrine teaches us that not all obsessions are the same, and understanding these differences is essential to knowing how to handle each situation. Obsessive spirits can influence people in lighter or more intense ways, and each type requires a different approach. Spiritual obsession is generally classified into three main types: simple obsession, fascination, and subjugation. Let's start with the most common one, simple obsession. In this case, the obsessive spirit tries to influence our thoughts and emotions in a subtle way, almost like a constant temptation to steer us away from our spiritual purpose. You know that phase when everything seems to go wrong, you can't stay focused, and your emotions are all over the place? This is the lighter kind of influence, where the spirit doesn't have much control over you but keeps trying to throw you off track. Have you ever experienced something like that? Fascination is a bit more serious. At this level, the spirit influences the person in such a way that they start believing in distorted ideas, without even realizing it. The big problem here is that the obsessed person doesn't feel like they're being influenced. In fact, they believe they're right even when they're making mistakes. It's like the person becomes blinded by the obsessive spirit and starts seeing things in a distorted way. Have you ever seen someone who doesn't seem to recognize their own mistakes, even when it's clear to everyone else? That could be a case of fascination. Now, the most severe case is subjugation, where the obsessive spirit dominates the person's will, causing not only emotional and mental disturbances but also physical ones. The person loses almost complete control over their actions and thoughts, and external help might be necessary to break free. In these cases, assistance from a Spiritist center with trained mediums can be essential to guide the person through a process of disobsession. Here, it's very difficult for the person to regain control of their life on their own. But here's the thing. The key to dealing with any type of obsession is through self-awareness and spiritual strengthening. It's not enough to just try to push the spirit away without working on the internal issues that allowed the connection in the first place. We need to be constantly mindful of our emotions, our thoughts, and how we're handling life's challenges. The more balanced we are, the harder it will be for these influences to take hold. So, tell me, have you heard of these different forms of obsession before? Have you ever experienced something similar? I'd love to hear your story and how you dealt with it. Now that we have a better understanding of who obsessive spirits are and the different types of obsession, the big question is, how can we protect ourselves spiritually from these influences? This is one of the most important aspects because, as we've discussed, obsession only occurs when we are energetically vulnerable. So, strengthening our energy and raising our vibration is the first step. You've probably heard the saying, "An idle mind is the devil's workshop," right? Well, it's not just a popular saying, it holds spiritual truth. When our minds are unguarded, filled with negative thoughts or focused on emotions like anger, fear, and sadness, we end up creating space for heavier spiritual influences. This is why emotional vigilance is such a powerful tool. Paying attention to our thoughts and feelings and not letting them drag us down is a form of protection. This doesn't mean ignoring or repressing negative emotions, though. It's about learning how to process them and find balance. One simple yet highly effective practice is prayer. And it doesn't have to be anything complicated or formal either. A sincere prayer from your heart can make all the difference. When you pray, you're raising your vibration and connecting with higher, lighter energies. And even more, praying not just for yourself but also for obsessive spirits is a noble way to help both them and yourself. Remember, these spirits are trapped in their own suffering. When we pray for them, we send light, asking that they find peace, and this transforms our relationship with these influences. Another crucial tip is taking care of your environment. Have you noticed that when your home is messy or there's been a lot of arguing, the atmosphere feels heavy? The same thing happens with the energies around us. Keeping your environment harmonious, organized, and filled with positive vibes helps keep negative influences at bay. A highly recommended Spiritist practice is the gospel at home, which involves setting aside time for study and prayer within your home. This practice creates an atmosphere of peace and protection in your space and helps maintain elevated energies. If you feel that a spiritual influence is particularly strong, don't hesitate to seek help at a Spiritist center. There, you can receive guidance, participate in prayer meetings, and, if necessary, go through a disobsession process led by experienced mediums. The important thing is not to face it alone. We're part of a network of mutual support, and seeking help is an act of self-care. And how about you? What do you already do to protect yourself spiritually? Have you tried any of these practices? Let us know in the comments what has worked for you. Now, here's something interesting. We've talked a lot about how to protect ourselves from obsessive spirits. But did you know that we can also help these spirits evolve? Yes, because in the end, they are souls in suffering who need light to move forward. And here's the beautiful part. When we help these spirits, we also help ourselves, because our vibration rises and we create a positive energy flow around us. One of the simplest and most powerful ways to help is through spiritual charity. How can we do this? By dedicating prayers to these spirits. When you pray for them, you're sending vibrations of love, compassion, and peace, helping to dissolve the negative energies that hold them back. And it doesn't have to be complicated. In your moments of prayer, you can simply ask that these spirits find the light, that they be embraced by higher energies, and that they receive the help they need to free themselves from suffering. Spiritist centers also offer disobsession work, where trained mediums communicate with these spirits to offer them clarity and guidance. This process isn't about confrontation, but rather about compassion and love. The goal is to show these spirits that there is a better path, that they can free themselves from their chains of pain and move toward the light. And the best part is that this work doesn't have to be confined to Spiritist centers. At home, with sincere prayers, you can already begin to help dissipate these energies and offer some peace to these beings. Let me give you a practical example. Let's say you're going through a situation where you feel a negative presence around you, or you believe that someone close to you might be influenced by an obsessive spirit. Instead of panicking, one way to help is by praying for the spirit, asking that it be surrounded by light and that it finds its way. It may seem simple, but the vibration of love you send out has the power to transform the situation. Not just for the spirit, but also for you, because when you pray with compassion, your own energy elevates. Additionally, when we help these spirits, we're also practicing a form of self-help. The more we vibrate with love and goodness, the less we connect with dense energies. This protects and strengthens us spiritually. It's a cycle. By helping others, we help ourselves. So, how about starting to pray not just for yourself, but also for those spirits who may be in suffering? If you've done this before, share your experience with us. Did you feel any change in your energy or the situation around you? Let's talk about it. Now, here's the thing, you can't talk about spiritual obsession without touching on two fundamental pillars of Spiritism: forgiveness and inner transformation. These two concepts are essential not just for protecting yourself from the influence of obsessive spirits, but also for deep spiritual growth. Want to see how it all connects? Many times, spiritual obsession is born from ties we carry over from past lives. It could be that, in a previous existence, we had conflicts or misunderstandings with certain people, and those wounds were never properly healed. The result? These spirits, still trapped in negative emotions, end up attaching themselves to us, creating an obsession. And sometimes, this obsession is an opportunity to resolve these unresolved issues. But how? Through genuine forgiveness. Forgiveness isn't easy, right? We know that. Sometimes, it feels like forgiving someone who hurt us is like letting go of something important. But in reality, it's the opposite. When you forgive, you're freeing yourself from a cycle of suffering, cutting those spiritual ties that might be holding you down, not just in this life but in past ones too. Forgiveness is a powerful key, not just to free the person who hurt you, but to free yourself. Now, here's a question to reflect on. Have you ever truly tried to forgive someone from the heart? The kind of forgiveness that comes without resentment, without the thought of "I'll forgive, but I won't forget"? Genuine forgiveness is one of the greatest demonstrations of spiritual evolution, and when you manage to forgive, you feel an incredible relief, like a weight has been lifted from your shoulders. Plus, by forgiving, you prevent these dense energetic bonds from forming, which reduces your connection to obsessive spirits. Have you thought about that? And that leads us to the second point, inner transformation. While forgiveness is an action we can take toward others, inner transformation is a continuous process we work on within ourselves. It's a journey of self-awareness and constant improvement, where we strive to correct our faults and develop our virtues. And let's be honest, this doesn't happen overnight, right? It's a long road, but it's essential for anyone who wants to strengthen themselves spiritually. Inner transformation comes through the small actions of everyday life. How you react to difficulties, how you treat the people around you, and even how you handle your own emotions. When you start looking within and noticing what needs to be adjusted, you begin to raise your vibration. The more you align yourself with love, patience, and balance, the harder it becomes for negative energies and obsessive spirits to connect with you. After all, obsessive spirits can only attach themselves when there's some sort of energetic resonance. Want a practical example? Let's say you have a habit of holding grudges or reacting with irritation when someone hurts you. Over time, these feelings create a denser energy field, which can attract obsessive spirits that are vibrating on the same level. But if you start working on yourself to not get carried away by anger, if you seek to practice forgiveness and cultivate love, you raise your frequency. And gradually, this strengthens your spiritual protection in a natural way. Inner transformation is also closely tied to what we call self-reflection. Taking time to look within, reflect on your actions and thoughts, and see what can be improved. This can be done daily, whether it's before bed, during meditation, or even in a quiet moment during the day. The more you know yourself, the more you'll notice which areas need adjustment, and as a result, you'll naturally distance yourself from negative spiritual influences. Now, tell me, how do you deal with resentment and the challenges of daily life? Have you tried practicing forgiveness as a way of liberation? And how has your inner transformation journey been going? Share your experiences here. I'd love to hear how these practices have helped you on your spiritual evolution journey. After our conversation, it's clear that dealing with obsessive spirits is, above all, a journey of self-awareness and spiritual growth. Spiritism shows us that love, forgiveness, and the daily effort to raise our own vibration are the most powerful tools for protecting and healing ourselves spiritually. If you want to walk this path of protection and healing, start by taking care of your thoughts, emotions, and actions in your daily life. Prayer, doing good, and inner transformation are practical and accessible ways to keep your energy high while also helping obsessive spirits find their way. So, tell me, what are you going to start practicing today? Share your reflections in the comments, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel to keep following this journey of spiritual growth. Be sure to share this video with your friends and turn on notifications. Let's continue walking this path together toward light and evolution. Wishing you all peace and light. See you in the next video.